Hey, Sunday, and time to take a look at stuff, tech, and gaming with the associate editor of Stuff magazine, Nick Cowan. Nick, nice to have you with us again, mate. Listen, we were talking about this last weekend, how big video games have got, and well, I mean, they're bigger than they've ever been before. But I was wanting to know from you, firstly, exactly what goes into making one of these video games.
Okay, well, it depends which one you're looking at. If you're looking at, say, for example, the independent scene, that can be anything from a small team to two guys and a laptop, really. But I'm assuming you're talking about the AAA games, which are things like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Battlefield, those sorts of things. They have huge teams working on them. Sometimes they may have as many as 2 to 3, maybe 4 studios working on them. You're looking at a list of people that you've got everything from animators to programmers to narrative leads to sound design. Essentially, you're looking at a crew which is probably about, I'd say, 4 or 5 times the size of a movie crew. And what they basically do is they start on what they're doing, whether it's a new intellectual property or if it's a sequel to an ongoing series. They sit down, they decide, for example, what the narrative will be, if the narrative need one, where it's going to be set, what the story is going to be, what the characters are going to be, what you're actually going to do in the game, whether it's a shooter or a puzzler or something like that. And then they start on, once that's locked down, they start on making the game, prototyping it, developing it, hiring quality assurance people who will play the game throughout different stages of different builds in order to make sure that nothing is fundamentally broken. It's a huge exercise, and it can take anywhere, depending on the game, between about 2.5 to 3 to 4 to 5 years.
Nick, but then how do these, for want of a better word, I don't know what you'd call them, producers,
Developers.
Developers or publishers or whatever, how do they make sure that they are, or try and make sure that they're going to hit the right market or the largest market?
Well, I mean, in the case of, for example, of a sequel, you already have an active fan base, for example.
Okay.
I mean, there are people who play Assassin's Creed every time it comes out, people who play Call of Duty every year it comes out, people who always play FIFA whenever it comes out. And it's a kind of a two-sided coin there. The tricky one is working with a new IP. You essentially have a look at what people are playing, what people are enjoying, and you say to yourself, well, if we're introducing a new intellectual property, we're kind of flying without a net to a degree here. With the sequels, it's a little bit of a different story. The publishers really monitor their communities. They listen to the feedback that they got from the last games, what people liked, what people didn't like. Also, when you boot up a video game, for example, and this, by the way, happens on any platform that you're using currently, like, say, for example, an Xbox Series X, a PS5, a PC with your Steam account, or your Epic account, and the Nintendo Switch as well. What happens is when you're playing that game, as soon as you boot it up, it syncs your profile with the servers that run for the game, which essentially allows the developers to harvest a lot of data. They can see how many people are playing their game. They can see which parts of the game drew the most activity. They can see if people rage quit at certain parts of the game. They can see how many people have 100%ed the game. So there's an awful lot of data collection. And there's also a very, very strong link between publishers and their communities to make sure that they're delivering on what the communities want.
So in other words, if, for example, in a certain game, they detect that people are pulling out of the game at a certain time, they can then go into the game and look at who the character is at that time, for example, and adjust that for the next game that's coming out.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you take, for example, Assassin's Creed is a very good example of this. They released a game, I think, back at 2013 called Assassin's Creed Black Flag. It came out around about the time the Xbox One and the PS4 were coming out. And they actually had a segment there where if you did a mission, you could rate the mission in the game and say, well, did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Would you like to see more levels like this? And you'll see, for example, over a period of time, there was something in Assassin's Creed called trailing missions, where you had to follow your target or follow a group of people and make sure that you weren't spotted. And if you were spotted, it was an instantaneous fail and you had to start the whole mission all over again. People didn't like that. So over the years, you've seen that tail missions, as they're called, have slowly evaporated from the Assassin's Creed rubric.
Okay. There seem to be a fair amount of celebrities popping up in games. I've heard you throwing out names over the past weeks. Is this a trend that you see getting bigger and bigger in the gaming sector?
I think that you're probably going to see more and more celebrities pop up, just because it's great to say, for example, have Giancarlo Esposito on stamped on the box for Far Cry 6, but he's hardly alone. I mean, over the years, you've seen people from Willem Dafoe appearing in games. He's appeared in several, by the way. You've seen people like, for example, Kevin Spacey, who we're not allowed to talk about anymore for various reasons, but he was in a Call of Duty game, for example. I can't remember the name of the actor, but the bloke who played Jon Snow was also in a Call of Duty game. I think it all comes down to the sort of narrative story characters they're trying to push forward. And sometimes you can say to yourself, well, this Hollywood actor would be absolutely perfect for this. Of course, then you also have to factor that into your budget, because a big Hollywood star is probably a little bit more expensive than, say, for example, me doing the voiceover. I just do it for fun. But I do see that actually picking up quite a bit as time goes on, and as budgets balloon, as they always do every other year.
Interesting to see where the gaming industry is going. And for that insight, thank you very much. Nick Cowan, the Associate Editor of Stuff Magazine, who joins us here on a Sunday to talk about gaming and tech stuff and all the sort of stuff that I just don't understand. But I'm trying to learn, and I think I'm getting there. Just every now and again, I just to rework out how to reboot my computer. Until next time, thank you for watching, and from us at Mansfield today, cheerio bye.